All right, that should be better. Just want to check the audio real quick and make sure we're live here. All right, that sounds good. Audio sounds good. I think we're ready to roll here. Ooh, we got a busy day ahead. So welcome, welcome. Let me get this out of the way. Okay. That should be good. Just about like that. All right. That looks good. I think we're in pretty good shape. I'm in my temporary setup here today, so I got to look down this way at the secondary screen today. So, one of those days. But we're going to get out of here. This is a busy day. Hopefully, in a couple hours, I'll be able to move into my main studio setup, and that'll be a little more comfortable with how I got everything set up. But for right now, we're just going to get going here and get into it. We have a number of severe weather warnings. The current tornado warning is far outside of the high-risk area that the Storm Prediction Center has for today now. And I'll show you that in just a few minutes. But first, we'll hop in here to our tornado warned storm. It's up here in South Dakota, north of Rapid City, South Dakota, in a severe thunderstorm watch. This did have a tornado on the ground a few minutes ago. So it's moved to radar indicated, but it's up here in northeastern Butte County in South Dakota, and that remains until 1:45 p.m. Mountain Time. Severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located 4 miles northeast of Deers Ears Butte, or about 40 miles southeast of Buffalo. Good news right now, I don't think there's a ton of population in this tornado warning. There's no towns showing anyway. There are, it looks like, some small roads out here, so there may be some people out here. But this tornado warning is generally, the tornadic part of the storm is south and east of Route 79 here in northwest South Dakota. Right up in this area, and it's moving northwest. Yeah, it's moving north-northwest here. So it is going to come up closer to the Route 79 corridor there. What is it moving? Northwest at 25. So we'll keep an eye on that one. In general, this area has a severe thunderstorm watch here that covers basically south of I-94 in North Dakota, in southwest North Dakota, most of west and central South Dakota, actually a little bit, 2 counties here in southeast Montana. And you can see there are a couple other thunderstorms popping up in this severe weather watch. So, just double checking the stream. It looks like it's okay. Most of this right now is in northwestern South Dakota, but we could see some more filling in here. You can already see there's a storm here popping north of I-90. That's southwest of Pierce, South Dakota. So we could see more here in this severe weather watch here in the Dakotas. And then we have our first tornado watch of the day. Not much right now was going in the northern part of this, but the southern part near Grand Isle and down towards the Kansas border has started popping with severe storms. And already seeing some pretty good storms here that are severe warnings south of Minden, Nebraska, and closing in on Franklin, Nebraska. This is the state line here with Nebraska and Kansas. So, and into Kansas near Phillipsburg, Stockton, Plainville. We've had ongoing severe thunderstorms here in northwest Kansas for quite a while. Actually, since about lunchtime. I think they popped up kind of in this area here near Hoxie and Grinnell in western Kansas, and they've moved a couple counties now to the east. Primarily, the threat here has been large hail, 1 inch to 1.5 inches hail, and also gusty winds, about 60. I wonder if this one is... Yep, they're still being warned for 60 miles an hour. Wouldn't be surprised if we see a few gusts even higher than that. A new cell here popping up by Ainsley, Nebraska is one to watch there with some small hail in it along Route 2, coming up towards Broken Bow. And then southern Kansas. This is the area that gets very interesting here. The models have southern Kansas in a bit of a two-mode setup here, with the southernmost counties basically south of Route 54 and 400 seeing more isolated to scattered supercell thunderstorms, while north of the Wichita area, especially once you get up towards I-70, the expectation by the as a lot of this is going to line out and develop into a that is west of Wichita at the moment. And then right now, our newest tornado watch here for most of Oklahoma. Basically, the only ones not included in this right now are the Oklahoma Panhandle and eastern Oklahoma. But pretty much Oklahoma in the I-35 corridor, all of western and central Oklahoma. This is a new tornado watch. There's not much in here right now, but watching for development here back near the Woodward area and even into the Texas Panhandle. And see, there's a few returns starting to show up in here, and those could pose a threat as we go further into the afternoon here. I just want to check the audio again. Double check the audio again. Should be good. Yeah, okay. I do hear the audio, so that should be good. So it's going to be a busy day. Already 12 severe thunderstorm warnings, 1 tornado warning. A couple have tornado possible tags. That's in South Dakota. And a few of these severe thunderstorm warnings, like the ones we just showed you in Kansas, already have tennis ball sized hail. So it is going to be a pretty crazy afternoon. The goal here is obviously to cover as much of this as we can and not only document it for the scientific aspect, but also hopefully keep people safe and give them another avenue for warnings. But please, if you're in this area here in the plains, have multiple ways to get warnings. Don't rely on myself. Don't rely on just another streamer. Have multiple ways to get warnings. And then likely, if I was in this area, I would have a second stream going, whether I'm watching the news or the Weather Channel, and then maybe a streamer. That's how I would kind of set it up. And then if you're in these areas here, and really also if you're out in front of these areas, there's likely going to be more warnings and watches out ahead of this. But if you're in this area today and you live in a mobile home or work in a temporary structure, have a plan to get to a safe, stable structure. And especially right now, this is the high risk area, essentially central Oklahoma and southern Kansas. If you're in this area here, you need to have an extra special safety plan. I would recommend having a place that has a basement or a storm shelter. Unfortunately, a day like today, there may be some situations here where just getting into the lowest level into your room is not enough. And I don't say that to scare people. I'm just being realistic here. And even the weather services and the local news organizations have said and posted similar things. If you're in this high risk area, you really need to take this pretty seriously today and have a tornado action plan ready to go well ahead. If you live in a mobile home or work in a mobile home or trailer or camping, you need to have that safe place to go to well ahead of the tornado warning. Because if the tornado warning is happening, it means it's likely going to be an imminent tornado situation. And even if you're not in a watch right now, if you're over here in eastern Kansas, if you're over here in the Tulsa area, northeast Oklahoma, or even southeast Oklahoma, down here in McCurtain County, that area, you need to pay attention to the weather today. It's only going to get worse. Everything is really quiet right now in Oklahoma, so don't let that fool you. In addition, we also have quite a bit of severe weather, a little bit unexpectedly, but there's a bit of a trough that was over kind of Texas the last few days. That area that sparked some tornadoes actually multiple tornadoes in West Texas the last few days over the weekend. That trough has kind of moved this way, and it's now sparking a bunch of general showers and thunderstorms on the East Coast. But there's actually quite a bit of warnings here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can count 5 warnings, and it looks like there might be a few more coming. So we got to watch that around the Nashville area. Let me check my stream here for a second while things are quiet. Looks like we're okay, but I just wanted to double check things. Again, I'm in my temporary setup here at the moment, so... Alright, it should be okay. Okay. Sorry, kind of getting everything set up here as we're going here. It's gonna be a busy day, so I definitely want to get things set up and make sure we're good to go. Okay, that looks better. Quiet now with just the one tornado warning. The other thing I want to mention, in addition to being very weather aware, having an action plan, especially if you're in these tornado watches and then points east of there. Kansas City, Springfield, Fayetteville, Tulsa, McAlester, Oklahoma, those sort of places. If you're out ahead of these tornado warnings, there's likely, or watches, there's going to be more watches later today. So have that action plan, especially at the eastern part of this. A lot of this is going to happen in this area after it starts getting dark. So you definitely need to plan ahead, have an action plan, and be ready to use that tornado action plan. But the other thing I wanted to mention is the slightly slow pace here of this early part of the stream is going to quickly disappear as this whole area in the tornado watch area breaks open here, probably in the next hour or so. So we really need to be conscious of, just double checking my stream again here. So we really need to be conscious of that, and I'm going to do my best to cover as much of the tornado warnings that are possible. But obviously, that's why it's extra important to have multiple ways to get warnings. I may be covering a tornado warning up here in South Dakota, while your local area has a tornado warning down here near Oklahoma City. So make sure you have, a way to get warnings, because this is a very large area that's going to have severe weather today. And it's going to get even worse in that area, but there's also severe weather ongoing here in the southeast. So actually, really quickly, before things do continue to fire off here in the plains, let's go through and get a look at the severe weather that's going on here in the southeast. So starting up here in the Nashville area, looks like the primary threat is gusty winds and maybe some small hail. There's definitely some small hail cores showing up in some of these storms here in the purple. So there's one here that's has a special weather statement. Wouldn't be surprised if this next one gets one, and then also one up here east of Nashville. that has some small hail. Gusty winds. Some of these could go severe, and it looks like a few have. There's one down here in southeast Tennessee right now, near the Beersheba Springs area. That's being warned for 1-inch hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds. Yeah, you can see there's definitely some small hail in there. These are kind of pulse thunderstorms, so they're going to upscale pretty quickly and then dump their hail and rain. It's moving east at 20, so make sure if you're down in that area, you're inside. The other big thing here is lightning. These pop-up thunderstorms in the southeast in the late spring and summer generally have a lot of lightning. They're going to have some heavy rains briefly. There's a bunch of areas here that have some small hail, gusty winds. But if you're out ahead of this, near, say, Cookeville, you have generally a line of thunderstorms coming your way. If you're outside playing golf or outside playing some baseball, something like that, you guys need to be weather aware. Looks like right now there's maybe a bit of the urban heat island effect here. There seems to be a gap in this line of storms around the inner core of Nashville. So that's an interesting little look. It could just be random, but it looks like right now all the storms are east and north of Nashville, and then also south and west of Nashville. So that's interesting. Some other showers and storms in Kentucky, especially the southern parts of Kentucky. Those are the biggest thunderstorms right now. There's even a bunch of showers, and every now and then some lightning up into the Ohio Valley here. Not a big severe weather day expected for the Ohio Valley. And then Georgia and the Carolinas also have some of the same. This looks like the most impressive storm in this area right now. A severe thunderstorm over Sandy Creek Wreck area, 7 miles north of Athens, and that's moving east at 15. So that's a pretty nasty looking storm here. Again, you can see the hail core coming towards the Colbert area and maybe over towards Comer, and that should stay north of Athens. But again, if you're in the Athens area, here is a prime example of why you need to be indoors when thunder roars. Here is a bolt from the blue, east of Athens and north of Route 78 there. You can see this lightning bolt right here is well outside of the thunderstorm. About 7 miles south of the actual core of the thunderstorm. So that's why we need to take storms like this extra seriously. If you're out here golfing, even if you're not getting rained on, you're in an area that could get lightning. So another storm here near Augusta. 1-inch hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds. This one looks like it's moving maybe a little bit faster. It has a bit of an arc to it, but it does seem to be a little bit on the downtrend. You can see over here towards Grovetown, a little bit more of those purple colors. That indicates a little bit of the larger hail. Not seeing that quite as much, but there may be a bit more of a wind threat as that gusts out a little bit. And then also, if you're down here by Myrtle Beach, if you're on the beach right now, the storms are behind you. So make sure you, every now and then, if you're on the beach here, Myrtle Beach up to Wilmington, take a look back, because there's actually quite a bit of thunderstorms behind the beach there. This one's pretty strong with a special weather statement. South of Myrtle Beach, 40-mile-an-hour winds, pea-size hail. That looks like it's most of the storms right now. Some storms with some hail and gusty winds up here near Salem, South Carolina. So again, looks just kind of like an isolated to scattered amount of thunderstorms. The storm here near Lebanon has now, in Tennessee, has gone severe warning for 1-inch hail, 60. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a few more of these. These are a little bit more structured, it seems. The storms here in the Nashville area, they seem to be a little bit more organized than some of the ones in the Carolinas that are just more the garden variety. Yeah, you can see there's a bit of a trough over the Ohio Valley, and there's kind of a couple lines of storms kind of circulating around that. So if you're in that Tennessee over into the Carolinas, chance of some showers and storms today. All right, now we're getting into it here. We have, it looks like the back building storms. There were these two hail storms here near Dodge City, and they've actually both produced 1.5 inch hail. So already some big hailstorms. But now we're starting to see that development back here south of Greensburg, south of Route 54. That's going to be the ones to watch as we go here into the afternoon. Okay, just checking in on the Storm Prediction Center. It's going to be a busy day for those guys in the Storm Prediction Center. They have noted an increasing tornado chance. Increasing tornado threat through 5 p.m. in this part of the tornado watch area here along the Kansas and Nebraska state line. Or sorry, nope, wrong state line. The part that we were highlighting. This area here, they've noted an increasing tornado threat through 5 p.m. They're seeing, I think what we were just seeing here is there's starting to be these back building storms and showers. Right now, just basically showers, but near the Woodward area and right along the Oklahoma-Texas panhandle, can already see a little bit of lightning bolts popping up. These are the ones that we're going to really have to watch here as they move into this prime area for tornadoes. So they're going to keep moving in this direction here from Woodward over towards Enid, Ponca City, Stillwater, and eventually over towards Tulsa, and then those ones along the Kansas-Oklahoma border towards Medicine Lodge, and then eventually over towards the Wichita area. That is an area that the Storm Prediction Center just a few minutes ago highlighted for increasing tornado chance. And then the other note here, and I'll see if it's on. Let's see if it's on the radar Omega yet. Okay, yes, it is. So the latest Storm Prediction Center moderate risk, the moderate risk is already a pretty high risk, goes down to the Red River, basically up kind of eastern, northeast Oklahoma. Now the moderate risk extends to the Joplin area, just west of I-49, and then across north of Wichita. So the moderate risk through the last couple updates has expanded a little bit to the east here. So that includes Tulsa, Bartlesville. We can zoom in a little bit and see. Joplin, up through Pittsburgh, Kansas. Areas that have gotten hit with a lot of storms in the last few weeks, but Fredonia, Independence, Garnett, Burlington, Humboldt in Kansas, Coffeyville in Kansas, and then Tulsa and points north and east, Claremont, Veneta, Joplin. Not quite to Muskogee, but pretty close. The Tulsa area, all of the Tulsa area, Bixby, Broken Arrow, Henrietta. I don't think it's expanded much to the south. So they've just expanded mostly, it looks like, a little bit to the east. So it also goes up to Emporia, McPherson, Hutchinson, Pratt. The areas north sides of Wichita are in the moderate risk. But yeah, it's this area I think has had the biggest change. Is the moderate risk has kind of progressed east. Yesterday and last night, the moderate risk was somewhat like this, kind of cutting off at the Tulsa area. So this is all new moderate risk over the last, I don't know, 6 hours or so. The other thing that's, I guess, a little bit of a change is I feel like they've pushed this risk, the enhanced risk, a little bit further east now. So now the enhanced risk covers all the Kansas City area, but also even up into southwest Iowa and also central Missouri. So it gets pretty close to the Columbia, Jefferson City area here for the enhanced risk. And I mentioned the models kind of show a clustering of storms that develops out here is going to, through the evening, form into a pretty good QLCS here and progress east. The enhanced risk and pushing that out likely also indicates that the Storm Prediction Center feels that this isn't going to die very quickly. It's going to stay pretty strong as it comes through central Missouri, and also the slight risk has now been pushed a little further east too. So St. Louis, even into western Illinois, that's going to be like early in the morning, 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. The slight risk being pushed a little further east also kind of indicates that the Storm Prediction Center thinks that this QLCS is going to possibly hold more of its strength than some of the models indicated the other day. I think the other biggest change is the slight risk that now goes up into South Dakota. So this is all kind of new slight risk here. We've already seen that verified with a few severe thunderstorms and also some 60-mile-an-hour winds. Good news is right now it looks like the tornado warning there has been dropped. There is a tornado possible on this storm here near 73 and Route 34 here in South Dakota. 1-inch hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds, and that quarter-sized hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds are spotter confirmed. That is 5 miles northwest of Howells or 22 miles south of Faith, moving north at 35. So again, not a super populated area, but still, especially if it's going to continue moving north-northwest, it may end up towards this Faith area and Route 212 here in South Dakota. So we may get a few more warnings out of this area through the day. You can see there is some development here back towards Valentine. That's going to be lifting up kind of north-northwest. So we may get a few warnings more out of this, but primarily up in here, the biggest threats are going to be damaging winds and some larger hail, but there could be a couple quick spin-ups like we've already seen here this afternoon with at least one tornado confirmed. That was a storm chaser that had that one. So yeah, you can see even up here near Valentine now, there's starting to be some storms developing. We're starting to get that that mid to late afternoon development that the models were showing. All right, we're going to, let me clear the risk today. Actually, before I clear the risk and we take a tour of the severe storms, I do want to look at the category risks here. So you can see our high risk is actually quite driven by the tornado risk. This is the tornado risk, and it's a high hatched risk here from Wichita down through Oklahoma City along 35. It's a pretty well-traveled corridor, but there is a 10% risk that stretches out through the Kansas City metro, also Springfield, Joplin, Fayetteville, northern Arkansas. There is a pretty large risk area. There's also a 5% risk. We've seen in the last week 5% risks have verified. So that extends up to Sioux City, Omaha, Des Moines, Jefferson City. Primarily, the risk for tornadoes up in this area is going to be for the QLCS spin-up tornadoes once that line develops. And that's why we definitely have to take our action plans seriously today, because those QLCS spin-ups are hard to track. They're very fleeting and they pop up very short. So if you are in a warning, especially like a severe thunderstorm warning up here in Omaha, Jefferson City, even eventually towards St. Louis in the morning, you need to take those pretty seriously because a severe thunderstorm warning can turn into a tornado warning pretty quickly. And as I say that, we have a new tornado warning, and it's nowhere near where we're thinking today. It's actually in that storm that's down now on the east side of Nashville. So these storms have quickly gone from special weather statement to severe thunderstorms pretty quickly here. We have the one with the larger hail near Lebanon that we highlighted earlier, and now we have some rotation in the storm to the north of Tucker's Crossroads. Oh yeah. So a little bit ago, you can see there's not really much rotation there at all. And then in the last couple frames, we can really see it start to spin up as it came across there, that area north of Lebanon. And it's not quite as punchy as it was just a minute ago, but it's a little more compact. So overall, the rotation isn't as strong, but it is a little tighter. So I guess, which one do you want? As a broader, better presenting rotation, or a tighter but slightly weaker rotation? So there's your winds going away from the radar, and there's your winds going towards the radar. And we're also decently close to the radar site, so this is a fairly low-level rotation here. This is a tornado warning for Carl Smith County in Middle Tennessee and northeastern Wilson County in Middle Tennessee till 3:30 Central Time. Thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located 9 miles south of Hartsville or near Tucker's Crossroads. It's moving east at 25. So let me, yeah, it's got a little hooky thing on it. It's not what I was expecting to do a tornado warning in Tennessee today, but I guess just like the velocity scan, you can see a little bit ago, it wasn't really looking that healthy, maybe some small hail, but then it's quickly kind of wrapped itself up and developed even a hook on it. So here it is right here. Here's your basically supercell, and then the hook wraps around like that. So, and your tornado sits in there, and there it is in the hook. So actually a pretty impressive structure to this little cell here in Tennessee. I didn't draw it quite good, but okay, that's better. So yeah, your rotation should be right in there, and that's where it is, right here in the little hook. So this is coming towards Carthage, Kempville, Difficult, and the southern side of Dixon Springs. You guys are all going to be in your tornado safe space. Lowest level interior room away from doors and windows. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. If you have a basement or storm shelter, that is even better. And I'm going to track out the part of the storm that has the rotation. So you're going to get rain, lightning, and maybe even some small hail well ahead of this. But I want to track out the rotation. Rome, Tennessee in about 6 minutes. Flat Rock, 7 minutes. Rock City, 8 minutes. And then if it holds together, South Carthage and Carthage in about 20 minutes. Monoville, about 20 minutes. And Tanglewood, about 15 minutes. 17, 15 minutes, somewhere in there. If it does shift, let me draw another track here. It's headed more east, but if it does shift a little more northeast, I just want to get some of these towns in the path, some of their time too. This would be up towards Difficult in about 30 minutes, and Kempville in about 35 minutes. So again, we have a little bit of rotation in this storm. It's moving generally east, so Carthage, South Carthage, Kempville, Difficult, and points in between those. Please be in your safe space here. And I just want to check this storm here. We've talked about this before, that storms that are next to each other in similar environments a lot of times do similar things. So this one's got its little hook on it, but now, at least visually, I'm starting to see a little bit of a hook on this cell that's over here by Lebanon and Tucker's Crossroads. So let's look in this area here and see if we have any rotation in that area. We do. We do have some broad rotation. You can see our winds going towards the radar are coming towards Lebanon, and then we have our winds going away from the radar here south of 40. So we do have a bit of broad rotation. This storm is going to deserve watching too. And then here's our rotation up here. It's north of Route 70 north at the moment. But okay, that is interesting. So yeah, watching two areas of rotation. One is currently tornado warned. If this holds together, or develops more, I should say, and it's headed generally east as well. Come on. That puts it in Tucker's Crossroads, about 10 minutes. Flat Rock, 23 minutes. Grant, about 20 to 25 minutes. New Middletown, about a half hour. And then Bluff Creek, about 40 minutes. If that broad area rotation intensifies, it's generally headed over towards the Gordonville area. So watching a tornado warned storm here in central Tennessee, generally lifting towards Carthage and Kempville. And then also just watching some broad rotation in the storm to its south. Also getting some small hail here over Tucker's Crossroads and I-40. So, okay, we'll move out of that. Don't think there's a tornado on the ground at the moment. I mentioned it earlier, there were a couple storms to the south of Nashville that are likely going to be severe warned. There's one here. And also some broad rotation in that storm, believe it or not. But along 840 here, there's definitely some sizable hail in this storm. We're seeing those blues and pink colors. So if this is coming over towards Fairview, Fernville, and eventually Franklin, Tennessee, the storm behind it is also now severe warned near Pleasantville, Tennessee, with some small hail, 1-inch hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds. Wouldn't be surprised if a couple more warnings come out of those cells, but especially that one here headed towards Franklin. That's one to watch with some small hail. And that one is actually approaching basically the southern suburbs of Nashville. The tornado warned storm and the other storm with a little bit of rotation near Lebanon, those are both moving away from Nashville. So if you have an interest in Nashville, that tornado warned storm is east of Nashville. That's actually our only tornado warning right now in central Tennessee at the moment. All right, let's go back to our tornado watch here. Right now, good news is there's no severe thunderstorm warnings at the moment in our severe thunderstorm watch in the Dakotas. Moving down here, there's some strong storms, but non-severe at the moment coming through Valentine, Nebraska. And then south of Grand Island, there's some pretty strong storms here with some small hail near Minden. Those were severe warned earlier. Wouldn't be surprised if we get some small hail out of that storm. And what are they warning it for? 50-mile-an-hour winds and nickel-sized hail. So that's a pretty strong little storm there. This storm here along the Kansas and Nebraska border has some really good hail signatures in it. Some large hail is likely falling in that. Large hail. It's being warned for 60-mile-an-hour winds and quarter-sized hail, but I wouldn't be surprised if we start getting some half-dollar size reports out of this. Again, similar to the storm in Tennessee that I mentioned, where when we start seeing these bright pinks and these blue colors here, that is starting to indicate some pretty good hail cores. This also has an inflow notch, so this is going to be a storm to watch here. It's pushing out some rain-cooled air and some heavy precip on the south side. Let's see if it has any rotation. Not a ton showing up on the velocity like the radar presentation, but if this can wrap itself up a little more, that is definitely a storm to watch. And especially some large hail along the Nebraska and Kansas border. 1.5 inch hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds around the Stockton, Kansas area. These are weather spotter confirmed, so this is ping pong ball size hail near Woodson. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we start getting some ping pong ball sized hail reports out of this storm south of Franklin. So if you're in this area, Franklin, over towards Riverton, you guys definitely need to be inside and away from windows, because this is some wind-driven hail coming up your way. Maybe as far over towards the Red Cloud area. That's maybe our nastiest storm right now. Even probably more than the tornado warning storm for the hail. Likely, yeah, some ping pong ball size hail showing up near the Woodson area. And then also starting to see some larger hail cores developing here near Hays, Kansas, along I-70. 50-mile-an-hour winds, half-inch hail. That's probably going to keep upscaling. We're going to see most of the storms today, especially in the next few hours, continue to upscale. So if they're being warned for some small hail now, they're probably going to be warned for larger hail down the road. And we're starting to see that here in Kansas. Ping pong ball sized hail. Yeah, I feel like the last time I checked these warnings, they were all for 1-inch hail. Now most of them are being reported for the ping pong ball sized hail. So we're really starting to see that hail start intensifying here. And checking for some velocity scans. A little bit of rotation in that storm, but not seeing a ton right now. That's some good sized hail though, coming up 56 towards Larned, Pawnee, Rock, Dundee, and eventually towards Great Bend in Kansas. New storms popping up here near Greensburg. These are the ones that we really have to start watching. And then a new storm here right on the Texas Panhandle border with Oklahoma, southwest of Arnett, Oklahoma. These are in a pretty favorable environment, and there is a little bit of rotation with that small cell already. So that is a bit of a concerning sign that even this small little cell, you can already see, has a little bit of an appendage on it. That is just, I think, a sign of what's to come here. So, again, not trying to scare people. Myself and I think the other reputable streamers are not here to, get clickbait and scare people. We're really just trying to keep people, well informed and hopefully provide even another level of advanced warning and also just more eyes on these storms. So, yeah, just a look at this little thunder shower so far. And again, it's not tornado warned. It's not imminently tornadic, but it has a little bit of that presentation. And that's just a clue of what's to come here. These are in pretty good environments to produce tornadoes. And that's why the Storm Prediction Center has that high risk. So not seeing much in the way of development down here in southwest Oklahoma, but that will likely come. Already starting to see more development here along the Kansas and Oklahoma state line. By the way, our cameras are above me on your screen. The top camera is from Wichita, Kansas. That is looking to the west. Let me double check that. Yes, that is 54 west at Seneca Avenue. So if you're in the Wichita area, so we're actually looking towards those storms. Here's US 54 that runs east and west through the Wichita area. That's on the west side of it's actually pretty close to the Wichita radar, kind of by the airport. So we're looking essentially this way towards those storms. So. There you go. I should get a little camera graphic and put it on. Anyway, we're looking that way. We're looking towards where we would expect the storm development. Can't really see much except for some clouds, but it's also good to take a look at the environment and see what kind of environments we're looking at here. Oh, this camera's cool. I can change this camera from east to west. Oh, geez. I think I just screwed it up. Okay, there we go. Oh, no, that's a different. Oh boy. I hit too many buttons. I don't want to look east, I want to look west. Alright, well that camera is resetting. And then the other camera is out of the Oklahoma City area. That's on I-35 at 65th. And so actually that one's looking back towards OKC. I might have to reset the Wichita camera. Hold on. Did it reset itself? Alright. It might have reset itself. So right now it's looking east again. But hopefully they can swing that back around and look west when the storms get here. But I'll keep it on that Wichita camera. That one looks like it might be the best one. Okay, here's the new west cam. Route 54 at Sycamore West. So. All right, we'll keep an eye on that. So yeah, up above me here, those cameras are Oklahoma City on the bottom, and then Wichita on the top. So, all right, right now, let's see. Well, that's basically a full tour of the tornado watch area here. So let's get back to our ongoing severe thunderstorms in east of Nashville. So the storm that was tornado warned looks like has expired. And still seeing a bit of broad rotation, but that area has definitely weakened up quite a bit. It was looking weaker even when we were looking at it, but still a storm worth paying attention to if you're in the Carthage area, between the Carthage and Kempville. It's still there, but it's not anything that we have to worry about. Still seeing some rotation with the storm to the south. That's severe warned here near Tucker's Crossroads. It's a bit broad, so not super worried about it, but there is some broad rotation around I-40 and areas just south and east of Tucker's Crossroads. That area is definitely worth keeping an eye on in case it tightens up. Again, that's kind of heading along and south of I-40. So if you do get a tornado warning out of that storm, it'd be heading towards Gordonsville and Lancaster, Tennessee. But yeah, good news is the storm that was tornado warned is not near the Carthage area anymore. So currently no tornado warnings. I should actually switch the oops, there we go. Let's get the severe thunderstorm warning on. So I forgot to even put the tornado warning on for the Carthage storm. So Carthage, there's your tornado warning, and now it's done. All right, we do have severe thunderstorm warnings here. This storm that I was a little worried about earlier near Franklin is now severe warned. That area is showing some larger hail. That is now being warned for, yeah, that is being warned for 60-mile-an-hour winds and golf ball sized hail. So that is a storm that's worth staying indoors for. I mentioned you guys earlier, Fairview, Fernvale, Boston, over towards Franklin. And right now this kind of splits Franklin in half, East Franklin versus West Franklin, but really if you're in this whole Franklin area out ahead of the storm, it's time to start getting into a stable structure and away from windows, because this is golf ball size hail coming your way. If you're definitely, this is a really busy area too along I-65 here. If you're out ahead of this, it's time to put the car in the garage, put the car in the parking deck. You got a few minutes here before this storm gets to you. But this is a pretty nasty little hail core. 60-mile-an-hour winds and golf ball size hail is going to do some damage. That is also, let's see, moving east at 20. So you do have a little bit of time in Franklin. I'm going to kind of take it to the leading edge of the heavier precip. But that is at 20 miles an hour. Puts it into South Hall in about 12 minutes. And Franklin about 25 minutes. So Franklin, you get about 20-25 minutes before that storm is to you. Just want to check, it does have a little appendage there near 840. It has a little bit of broad rotation in it. Right there near 840. So that's a nasty little cell. And then we did have some wind report out of that storm north of Athens. Tree down came into the 911 center, so there's still a pretty strong cell here in the Athens area. The good news is it looks like the storms are generally starting to pulse down a little bit. There's less severe warnings right now, so that's a good sign. And they should generally kind of pulse down as we get later into the day. Still watching some strong storms near Conway in South Carolina. So again, if you're on the beaches, the Myrtle Beach, the Grand Strand, that's all clear right now, but take a look behind you, because behind you have some pretty good storms. So hopefully the lifeguards got the lightning and can call people off the beach here. Yeah, actually these Nashville storms are right now pretty nasty. That storm near Franklin especially, that outside of the storms in Kansas and Nebraska right now, that is actually, I think, our strongest storm at the moment. Yeah, it's got a little rotation, it's got a little appendage on the back end, but yeah, it's got coming into Lipers Fork and Traceview. This is a pretty good hail core here on Tennessee 46. It's going to keep moving east towards Durham Manor and Franklin. And it's not moving particularly fast. So that's the other issue. Like if you're here in Lipers Fork and Traceview, if you start getting hail, it's going to last them a couple minutes. It's not just going to blow through at 60, miles an hour, just like a line of storms or something. So that's a pretty strong little cell. Memphis area is looking quiet right now. But some storms may pop up here around Memphis. Along I-40, there's a chance of these scattered thunderstorms to continue. Okay, we have our newest severe storm. It's the one that I mentioned earlier. The one that had that look to it. That is going to continue to upscale. We're going to continue seeing these storms upscale. So we saw it as a baby thunderstorm back about right there. And you can see it's got a little bit of an inflow. It was showing the signs of a maturing thunderstorm. That has continued as it's come up Arnett, Oklahoma. And yeah, we're now starting to see a hail core in here. So it's already being warned for 60-mile-an-hour winds and half-inch hail. Likely, just like the other storms in Kansas, we've seen that before. It starts getting warned for an inch hail, and then it starts getting warned for half-dollar hail, and then it eventually starts getting warned for baseball or tennis ball or golf ball size hail. So, and this goes out quite a bit. So Arnett, all the way up to Woodward, Moreland, and Sharon need to watch the storm, because it's generally headed east-northeast. So it'll be up to you guys in a little bit. And it probably, by then, won't just have half-dollar size hail. It'll probably have more like golf ball or ping pong ball size hail. This is moving a little faster than those storms in Tennessee. It's moving northeast at 45. So again, I'll kind of take it out along the leading edge of the heavier precip. So moving east at 45, or northeast at 45, that'll put it in Sharon in 29 minutes, and then Moorhead in 45 minutes. So Woodward about probably a half hour. This may go slightly south of Woodward, but let's not take any, especially these the watch areas here. Take any of these warnings seriously, and even if it's just a severe thunderstorm warning, let's just start getting inside of a sturdy structure, away from windows. That way, if you have to take your tornado action plan quickly, you guys can. I want to check a couple of those other nastier storms. The one near Larned and Pawnee Rock. Yeah, it's getting an upgrade too. It's going from 1.5-inch hail to golf ball sized hail. That's coming up along US 56 towards Pawnee Rock and Great Bend. The storm behind it now has a special weather statement. That's probably going to go severe warned eventually. 50-mile-an-hour winds, nickel-sized hail. Give it a couple more minutes. It'll probably have 1-inch hail as well. That's coming up Garfield and Lewis, and maybe over towards Radium and Belpre here. That one's sliding up just behind the other one, so people may get hit twice there. And another strong storm here near Hayes. Just want to take a peek at that one. Nothing really tornadic in that, but maybe some small hail up in here between Hayes and Plainville. 1.5-inch hail here and 60-mile-an-hour winds. That is for a storm over Cedar, Kansas, moving northeast at 45. That's for southwest Smith County. And ping pong ball size hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds. Again, you can see those blue and high pink, bright pink colors. Those are coming up towards Smith Center, Gaylord, Kansas. Athol, Kansas. This area here up along 281 and 36 here. From Gaylord up to Smith Center and Athol. You guys are in a pretty powerful thunderstorm there with the golf ball size hail. Generally coming up towards Smith Center. Let's check that one for some rotation a little bit, but nothing tornadic at the moment. We got to watch these notch, especially as this area in northern Kansas develops into a QLCS situation. We'll really start having to watch that for those notches. Just taking a look at our cameras here. It looks breezy. Definitely you can see that breeze. This is looking east, so yeah, you can see that kind of southern breeze. The Gulf of Mexico moisture pouring up through the trees. You can see also looking west here at Sycamore how hazy it is up here in the, especially like out towards the horizon here along US 54 in Wichita. And then sunny. It is sunny and bright in Oklahoma City. I don't know if you guys can see it on the camera, but I can on the bigger screen. But the Oklahoma City skyline is off in the northwest corner of that camera. The top left corner of the camera is the Oklahoma City skyline. It's blue skies and sunshine there, which earlier today was cloudy. And the Weather Service did warn people. People were like, "Oh, it's cloudy. It's gonna keep the weather down." But the Storm Center, the NWS Norman and the Storm Prediction Center said multiple times that the clouds this morning and fog, parts of Oklahoma had fog today. That wasn't going to keep the severe weather from developing. We mentioned this storm earlier when it was south of Franklin and Riverton. It's now pretty much there, so hopefully you guys are taking your safety measures. There's some gusty winds in this storm. Nothing tornadic, but there's some 76-mile-an-hour winds showing up here between Franklin and Riverton. 73, 69, 50 something, 54, 58. But right in here, let's see, 76.1. That's generally actually coming straight into Riverton in Nebraska. So this storm means business. It's, let's see, near Franklin or 32 miles northeast of Phillipsburg, moving northeast at 30. Being warned for quarter-size hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds, but I would not be surprised if this area in here may see a little bit more winds, and that's actually coming right into the Riverton area. So, Riverton, you guys need to be away from the windows. Yeah, there's still some pretty good wind here showing up. 67, 58, 60. There may even 67, 69. So there may be even some larger than 60-mile-an-hour winds in this part of the line. Let's northeast at 30. Kind of taking it from the edge of the winds. That's Riverton, less than 10 minutes. It's probably even closer than that. Ina Vale, 18 minutes. Bladen, 33. Coles in about 38 minutes. And Blue Hill in about 45 minutes. So, if you're out ahead of this, Campbell, you guys might get some of this action too. And you can also see in this reflectivity, it's starting to bow out a little bit. So this may be what's starting that QLCS setup here. There's still some individual cells in here. There's this one here coming up towards Smith Center. And we got to watch the little notches. This has a couple squiggles, but nothing really showing up tornadic in this either. But we really need to start watching areas like this that start to bow out and start to kind of organize themselves. There's one also maybe north of Smith Center, one kind of south of Smith Center. But that could be the start of the QLCS situation that is likely going to develop for the areas in eastern Kansas. Again, right now, no tornado warnings. We do have quite a bit of severe thunderstorm warnings at the moment. We have 13. Most are in Oklahoma, Kansas, and Nebraska, in the western and central parts of those states. Western Oklahoma, and then kind of west central Nebraska and Kansas. We also, if you're just joining us, do have some severe storms and some slightly sub-severe storms in the southeast. There's 2 severe thunderstorm warnings, it looks like, in the Georgia area. One is on the Georgia and South Carolina state line here near Seneca, South Carolina. The other one is now east of Athens towards Comer. There's a number of storms here that have special weather statements for just slightly sub-severe storms, including the ones that have organized near the Myrtle Beach area. Those are going to be pushing towards the ocean. So if you do have people out at the beach, they're slowly pushing that way. And you can see here they're upscaling. So a little bit ago there wasn't much there. The old storms, you can actually see, have an outflow boundary. You can see this outflow boundary right in here. That pushed out and probably collided with some sea breeze. And now there's a line of stronger storms there. So those are slowly headed towards the Myrtle Beach and the Grand Strand. A couple storms up here in the mountains. And then the Nashville area has had a decent concentration of storms. The one here near Gordonsville still has some small hail likely in it. Still has some broad rotation too, but not... It's sub-severe now, so that's a good sign it may be on the downtrend. Still a pretty strong cell here near Hurricane, Tennessee. That might have some small hail in it too. And then also this storm here near Franklin. It looks like it's actually taken a turn. Let's go back and see what happened here. Yeah, so it's had a bit of a nudge from the storms coming up behind it. And yeah, it's actually moving more southeast now. So this may miss... Yeah, I'm pretty confident this is going to miss the downtown. does have a little bit. Right in here by 840. Yeah, it does have a little bit right around the Boston area. There's a little bit of rotation in this, but you get some inflow coming in and a little bit of rain-cooled outflows. At least it's not tornadic, but it indicates it's a pretty well-structured storm. And also that indicates it has an updraft that's capable of holding up some of that larger hail. So this is headed southeast now. It's actually going to be quickly into this area here around 840 and 65. That's pretty busy area southwest of Nashville. Areas south sides of Franklin, you guys need to be away from the windows, and then especially north side of Spring Hill, you guys need to be away from the windows towards Rudderville, Alsonia, Eagleville, and Cedar Grove. Nasty storm. 1-inch hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds. It probably had larger hail back here, but I would agree with that. I think the hail core doesn't look quite as impressive as it did a few minutes ago. We can go back when it was being warned earlier for golf ball size. So you can see again those blues and bright pinks. That's some of that larger hail in here. And we don't see that quite as bit. There's still some darker reds and purples, but the good news is this storm may be on the downtrend. All right, get a drink here while it's I think this is the lowest amount of warnings we've had actually in a while. And right now they're all severe thunderstorm warning. So let's get to this one though. This one has a tornado possible tag. So we're going to quickly fly over to Great Bend, Kansas. This is that storm that we mentioned earlier near Pawnee Rock. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, so it does have some rotation in it. Looks like that rotation has picked up a little bit since it's across Larned, Kansas, and it's coming up towards Pawnee Rock here. Where is our radar site? Okay, we're getting a radar at Dodge City. So it's this area right along 56. Yep, that's the area right there. So it does have some broad rotation. You have the winds headed towards the radar, and out here you have the winds headed away from the radar. Right now it's not very tight. It's a bit of a shear line. You can see that line between the greens and the reds and yellows. Just along and south of 56 here. And yeah, you can see this is the winds headed away from the radar, or towards the radar, and here's your winds headed away. And yeah, it's a bit broad right now, but I would agree with that. Tornado possible tag on a severe thunderstorm warning. I think that's an appropriate warning there. So if you're ahead of this, Pawnee Rock, you're pretty much in it right now, but done Great Bend. If you can, to get to your tornado safe space, it's a good idea on a day like today in a tornado watch. If you're out ahead of this, to get into your safe space. Just, it's good practice, number one. And also you can practice your tornado safe plan. But then also, in case it does continue to spin up, then you're good to go. You're already in your safe space. You're already good to go. The storm to the south is now severe warn 2. It did have a special weather statement on it. It's now being warned for 1.5-inch hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds. Yeah, that's ping pong ball size, and it's near Garfield, Kansas right now. It's gonna be just south of Garfield, so all this is sliding away from the Garfield area. So good news for you guys. But it's gonna be between essentially Garfield and Belpre. And yeah, you can see it definitely has some hail. Let's check it. Maybe some broad rotation, but nothing right now that's super concerning, but we'll have to watch that one as it lifts north and east. The Pawnee Rock one is one we really have to watch carefully. If that tightens up, that could warrant a tornado warning. And then I also want to check in on our storm here with the higher winds that looked like it was developing near Riverton. Yeah, there's still some pretty good winds showing up. Actually, right around the Riverton area. 61, 58. The winds may have come down just a notch, that's a good sign. Being mile-an-hour winds, that's probably verifying somewhere in there. There's probably at least the 60 mile-an-hour winds. And then this storm coming up towards Smith Center with close to ping pong ball sized hail and 60 mile-an-hour winds. That storm has been holding together for quite a while. And unfortunately, it looks like that hail core is coming right across Smith Center. So hopefully people there took the warning seriously and got their cars in the garage. Again, you can see those blues and pinks. That's the larger hail right in there. Smith Center up to Bel Air, Kansas. If that holds together, Cora, Kansas. But right now, it looks like, unfortunately, this US 36 corridor between Athol and Smith Center is probably the most populated corridor or part of this storm it's going to be in for a while. And it looks like that hail core is crossing right into that most populated area. Otherwise, the next town looks like it's Cora. And then, yeah, the next town after that isn't really up until Nebraska. So that's a nasty storm. New severe thunderstorm warning for 1-inch hail, 60 mile-an-hour winds for the cell between Plainview and Natoma. And then it looks like we've had confirmed almost 2-inch hail here near Comanche County, Coldwater, Kansas. That's lifting up towards 183 right now. And yeah, primarily for the hail, the wind threat is actually lower, but golf ball sized hail there. And that's been confirmed. So that's right along 183 right now, moving up north and east. That may end up towards the Haviland area, Brenham, and Wellsford in Kansas. Nothing in the Wichita area, just looking at the traffic cam again, but you can again see the humidity has really picked up, especially if you look further down into the camera here along the horizon. It's very hazy right now. So yeah, there's quite a bit of humidity, it looks like, that's really picked up in the Kansas area. And then checking our Oklahoma camera. It looks like, unfortunately, it's one of those days, it actually looks like a very nice day in Oklahoma. Blue skies, sunny, bright. It's one of those very deceptive days where it looks like a great afternoon in the Oklahoma City area. But very quickly, later this afternoon and evening, that great afternoon can be broken pretty quickly. And then checking on our storms here coming towards the Woodward area. Still being warned for the 60 mile-an-hour winds and $half sized hail. It's now north and east of Arnott and southwest of Sharon and Woodward right now. Still not much showing up in the velocity. But those areas to watch. We definitely want to watch those areas. Okay. Yeah, still not much showing up in here, but we need to definitely pay attention to that. storm to its south now has a special weather statement. I think we're going to likely see the same thing as the storm to the north. It's going to have a special weather statement for a little bit until we start to confirm that it has a little bit higher wind and hail. It looks very similar to the storm here to the north that has, this probably is within a couple minutes going to have a little bigger hail core and be severe warned too. You can see it. Storm to the north still has a few more purples, but this is likely going to eventually get kind of the same treatment. And then we're also starting to see a little bit more development further south, right along the Texas state line here with Oklahoma, between Wheeler and Sayre, Oklahoma. But these are the storms we really got to watch as they progress. They don't look like much now, but they're going to get into a pretty favorable environment here within a very short amount of time as they move generally kind of like this. And certainly as this continues to back build, those are storms that really need to be paying attention to along the I-44 corridor and into the Oklahoma City area. The storms we're watching right now that are severe warned over by Woodward are probably going to be more of an issue for like Ponca City, Stillwater, Bartlesville, maybe if they go a little further east towards Tulsa. But it's anything that develops back here towards Childress, Texas, Elk City, and points south in Oklahoma, that would be the area to watch for OKC. Had numerous ping pong ball sized hail reports here out of these storms between Dodge City and Pratt in Kansas. This storm now near Great Bend has had an increase in its warning. It still has golf ball sized hail, but it's also now being warned for 70-mile-an-hour winds and a tornado possible. So I mentioned these earlier, Great Bend, Ellenwood, Heiser, that looks like Heiser, Dundee. Hopefully you guys are taking basically your tornado safety precautions. If you can, Ellenwood, you still have maybe a couple minutes till this thing gets to you. But basically Great Bend and Dundee, it's the storm is here. So hopefully if you're out ahead of this again, it's probably going to get an extension of the warning. So that'd be Claflin, Red Wing, Ellenwood, maybe up towards Hollyrod and Bushton. You guys need to watch out for a pretty nasty storm here. And we just had a tornado warned storm to the south. So I want to check real quick on the tornado possible tag. Still showing that rotation. It's coming up here in the Dundee area. It's along US 56. It's still showing kind of broad rotation. But if this tightens up a little bit, it's basically riding along 56. So that would be into Great Bend pretty quickly. If you're in Great Bend, it's good to take that tornado safety precaution. The storm to its south now is tornado warned. For a storm capable of producing a tornado near Zook, moving northeast at 35. It's also now being warned for 2-inch hail. So this storm has quickly... Oh yeah, there's definitely 2-inch hail in here. Again, you can see those brighter pinks and blues. But even up in this purple hail core, that is some nasty hail. We mentioned it earlier, so hopefully people are paying attention. Radium and Seward, and should slide just to the south of Larned. This is moving generally southeast of 56. So the storm that's moving like right along 56, this is moving essentially just to its south. But you guys need to be in the safe space. Also, Larned is in the tornado warning, so you guys need to be in your tornado safe space, but especially over towards Radium and Seward. And Pawnee Rock, it kind of goes around you, but I'd be in my safe space if I was in Pawnee Rock. Here's Zook. Zook, that's where they said the rotation was, so let's check out your rotation. It's there. I mean, honestly, the rotation near Dundee looks actually a little bit more impressive. It's broad, but it looks actually more impressive. But there is a little bit tighter rotation here just in the Zook area. But now, see, I don't see it that... that much at all. Let's go back a scan. Maybe there was something. I mean, that's near Zook. I mean, I guess there's some broad rotation there. I guess it's still in here a little bit near Zook. These are your winds going away from the radar, and there's a little weaker reds and the grayish greens going towards the radar, so yeah, I mean, it's there. It's not the most impressive tornado warning, but let's still take it seriously today. Long Seward, Pawnee Rock, Zook, and also this is one of those storms that'd be in my tornado safe space anyway for the wind-driven hail. It's got golf ball size hail, and it could continue to wrap up even a little tight. If it wraps up, then it could easily wrap up tighter. So we got to take it seriously, but right now it does not look like it's going to drop a tornado in the next like minute or two. It'd have to go a little nuts in the next couple minutes. The storm that I'm more worried about, honestly, for rotation right now is this storm over Dundee. It's still a bit broad, but that at least on radar is presenting a bit better. And that's also headed towards Great Bend. That is essentially coming down 56 right into Great Bend. If that tightens up just a little bit, it could produce a tornado essentially over Great Bend. So that one I'm right over Dundee and then coming into the Great Bend area with that rotation. This rotation near Zook seems very broad on radar unless a storm spotter confirmed a wall cloud or something. I don't see that in the report. Radar indicated rotation. I don't know. But take it seriously, because any of these storms can easily produce tornadoes today in this environment, but that's one that's a little bit of a head scratcher, but we have a new severe thunderstorm warning that came out for South Dakota here. Ooh, it's hard to see those storms. They're in a bit of a radar hole, but areas here along 83. Tornado possible and 60-mile-an-hour winds. That's coming up towards 83 and White River, Hidden Timber, and Littleburg. Yeah, they're kind of moving like the storms are in the line moving north as the line itself is moving kind of northeast. But there's a couple stronger cells in there. This one here also is a pretty strong cell south of Wood Lake, Nebraska. A little bit of rotation actually in that cell too, on the southern hook of that. So just be careful there. That coming up, that would come up actually towards Wood Lake, Nebraska, if that one. There's also a strong small cell here north of Page, Nebraska. And then for the moment, the storms around Grand Island and Hastings, Nebraska don't look quite as punchy as they did earlier. So that's a good sign here north of I-80 right now. South of I-80, though, the storms here near Red Cloud and that we're over by the Riverton area, those are still packing a punch with 1-inch hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds. They may, between Riverton and Franklin, even had a little higher winds. And it looks like some trained spotters in Riverton did report 1-inch hail. And then those storms near Smith Center. Smith Center came in with golf ball sized hail. So yeah, unfortunately that strongest hail core moved right through Smith Center. That's now up toward the Cora, Kansas area, approaching the Nebraska state line. More storms here between Plainville and Natoma. 1-inch hail. Generally, this area here between Hastings and Hays, Kansas, you're going to have 60-mile-an-hour winds and 1 to 1.5-inch hail, with maybe a couple areas might have a little higher, closer to that 2-inch or ping pong ball size hail sizes. Maybe even one more right in there. But yeah, this area here, as it goes further east, it's going to go through Russell, Hastings, Nelson, Hebron, Superior, Red Cloud, York, and probably even over to the Lincoln, Nebraska area. And then in Kansas, Concordia, Beloit, Glasgow, Mankato, Lincoln, Kansas, Salina, Ellsworth, Russell. That area needs to really watch for that cluster of storms. Again, that's that area from about Hays to Hastings. It's probably also going to slide eventually over towards, probably just to the Manhattan or points north, and eventually over to southeast Nebraska. We also need to watch these storms here that probably right now have our best chance of the tornadoes. The one that's near Great Bend, still showing some rotation in here. This is a severe thunderstorm, 70-mile-an-hour winds, ping pong ball sized hail, and a tornado possible. If that rotation intensifies, it's pretty much over Great Bend. So hopefully it stays broad here for the next few minutes. The hail core is probably just going to slide just on the northwest sides of Great Bend, up along 56 and then 281. And then just behind that, Pawnee Rock, Radium, Seward, Larned, Kansas, over towards Zook, Kansas. You guys need to be in your tornado safe space for that rotation. Still showing just kind of broad rotation near the Zook area. But also in addition to that broad rotation, there's likely some 2-inch hail showing up in that area right there. Yeah, that's a dangerous thunderstorm in an area that's already had quite a bit of wind and hail from the storm that just came up through Pawnee Rock and Great Bend. We have new severe thunderstorms that are popping up here in southern Kansas along 183 south and east of Greensburg. That one is already showing quarter-sized hail. I would guess this next one down the line near Wilmore is also showing some small hail. It'll probably be severe warned. Just how the looks of these storms are going today, they look similar. If that gets severe warned, it'll be come up towards Belvidere, Kansas. And then also watching now a tornado possible tag for the storm that's coming south of Woodward near Sharon. That one's that storm earlier that we saw had a little bit of rotation on it. It still does here on the southern side. And it's got some small hail also. That's going to be coming up towards Moreland and Sharon and Woodward in Oklahoma. And then still some strong storms, not severe at the moment, but 40-mile-an-hour winds and 1/2-inch hail south of Arnett, Oklahoma. And then we're starting to see more development down here along US or I-40 near Sweetwater, Oklahoma, and the Texas Panhandle border between Sweetwater and Shamrock, Texas. Those are more storms that we're going to have to watch. There's also been a little bit of an uptick in the severe weather here. So we have more warnings now in Tennessee. Still a strong cell near Rudderville, Paytonsville, and Little, Texas in central Tennessee. That's coming over towards Kirkland, Alsonia, Eagleville, Cedar Grove, Pleasant Hill, Riggs, Crossroads, Holt's Corners, and Bear Wallow, Bethesda, Spring Hill. That's basically missed you guys. Spring Hill, Tennessee. There is still some broad rotation I've been watching in this storm, but primarily the threat is the hail core, and that's right over the areas here, Rudders,